And Chris Oakley here, October 4th on a Friday at Gans Creek Recreation Area with Matt Boehner, the Columbia Parks planner, the Strafford, Missouri, Southwest Missouri native. And you said about 7 years you've been here with the Columbia Parks Direct?
Yeah, 7 years.
Tell me about how this process of planning and developing just the gorgeous new Gans Creek cross-country course played out, and just talk about what an undertaking it went out and where it kind of fits and of your enjoyment of your job compared to designing and building and being a landscape architect and a park planner and designer.
Well, the process started here about 2 years ago. Just some preliminary meetings and site walks with University of Missouri and Michigan state officials. They were looking to possibly move the state championships, and that was something we thought we could grab.
Yeah, I know they're always taking bids and trying to look for.
So that was an opportunity, and so we started looking at how could we fit that into the current master plan for Gans, or how do we change the master plan for Gans, because it was initially to be a 9-field soccer complex and with potential baseball fields, park shelters, more parking. And as it developed, we started thinking, what if we were to take this course and not just make it a home course for EMU, but make it a home course for cross country on a national, global scale, and make it that championship quality and make it something unique that no one else has. And so as that developed, and the coaches really jumped on it and that idea, and we began just kind of seeing what courses had and what we could do differently to make it flow better and work from an event standpoint, but also from a spectator standpoint.
And I think that's one of the things that Mike Griggs, the Parks and Rec director, said last week at the dedication was, Mizzou staff was sending us here's photos and this is what great courses look like, and I guess it's from there that you guys jumped on it and not only made it a great course for athletes but for spectators too.
Yeah, we took a lot of kind of visited through maps and photos of Terre Haute, which had hosted numerous NCAA championships, saw how they had it organized, what their layout was, what their structures looked like, and then what the course looked like.
Sure.
Along the long straightaways, the funneling to get the largest amount of athletes on the start line. Where do you turn them? How do you turn them? And then we started just playing with some new and creative ideas, such as bank turns, bringing that NASCAR aspect into it, and how do we keep the runners running as fast as possible for the entire length of their run?
Sure.
Instead of slowing them down on tight 180-degree turns. We got rid of those, so it's real broad turns, bank turns, so runners with longer legs could probably run farther outside than the inside route.
Sure. and
make moves. So there's a lot of strategy here. There's a lot of switches. A lot of courses have a majority of the turns are
hard.
70-80% will be left turns.
Yeah.
And then you have 20% right turn. And
hard, tight turns that are rough on the body.
Very tight turns, and then you have a lot of spectators interfering with those turns and getting in the way, crossing the course. Here, a spectator can watch from the top of the spectator berm, can watch 60% of one race without having to move.
Right.
And that was a very kind of challenging but also exciting aspect that we were able to build into this. And by moving the spectator berm to the closer to the course, it really opened that up to get that crowd of 7,000 to 10,000 right on the start line and the finish line all together, and keep that flow going.
Yeah, and obviously and maybe that's one of the few things that you don't see. There's no 90-degree hard left or right turns, or even obviously that's a little strict, but nice big wide broad turns, nice. Everything's level. Nobody's running. If you're on the far left or right edge of the course, nobody's running on a hill, on the side of a hill, or everything's pretty much level. And
it's a straight minimum 2% cross slope on the entire course. We did increase some of the cross slopes on some of the turns to up to 5 and 6%.
Okay.
But those are where it's probably some of your tightest turns. But that allows the runners to use that strategy and use the idea of, they don't have to run just on the inside tangents all the time. They can make moves in different places.
Sure.
And gives them that opportunity.
talk about the turf and just how high quality the turf and what a project it was to have irrigated all the actual course path turf that's in such great shape.
So that was something else that we looked in, that we wanted to make it very much like a soccer field complex. The type of running that happens, and to get the number of events that we wanted to bring in, we knew we were going to need to irrigate the turf on the course to make sure that we could have events year-round and maximize all those events, but to keep that grass healthy and growing in between events. And so we've got a mixture of a kind of a bluegrass and Bermuda and ryegrass mix out there right now, and it's coming really well for just having been growing for about 3 months. It's only going to get better and stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
The course drains really well, so there's very few soft spots. The opportunity, you're not going to be running through ruts or mud and rivers on this course once it gets in its full development stages.
What about other aspects of the turns? Just those big wide turns make it great for spectator viewing. That's one of my biggest complaints is going to courses and everything's back and forth and straight. Well, you're looking at the back of the head of the person to your left or right as you wait for your athlete to come down.
Yeah, it allows the spectators to really gather on the turns, as we saw from the first event at the Gans Creek Classic. Everybody kind of really hugged those really large and wide turns on the inside and outside routes, and that just made that experience a lot better. And so when those runners come in from that final 3K loop lap, and they're on that final 400 meters, the last 400 or 500 meters, it's nothing but spectators on both sides of the track all the way in, and that's just it kind of feeds that adrenaline,
that energy to the athlete
to get to the finish and make that stronger finish.
And tell me about your favorite aspect or two of the course.
It was really kind of developing and grading the project into the natural terrain. It's a great site. It's an old farm field, so you have a lot of slight undulations, but working those turns in and creating those views so that from a runner's perspective, they have a great course to run on, whether they're running out here by themselves or they're actually in an event. They get to really experience the natural aspect of cross-country running and being out in nature, and then coming back to that large crowd in the event. So you kind of hope you get that adrenaline rush, but also calm them down, let them do what they really love to do. And that's
sure. What about any spot or two on the course that you're favorite or most proud of, or just from a viewer you think would be enjoyable for you?
There's two. One is about the second turn, just off the start, is where it's above Gans Creek, about 100-foot bluff overlooking Gans Creek, and down below in the trees is a blue heron rookery.
Oh, okay.
And which is where blue herons nest in the springtime, and so it's a great event. You see lots of blue herons flying over the course in the spring and early summer, and they all nest in one or two trees together, and that's called a rookery. So kind of hoping to kind of name that turn the rookery turn as the course develops, and so people kind of know that turn's coming up, and and just it kind of helps just spread the name of the course around the community as it blows up on social media, as people talking about the rookery turn, how much fun that is to run, and the views they have of that.
Yeah. What about elevation gain and drop? Have you got any of those off the top of your head, remember?
We had I think it was about 70 feet total elevation on a 5K run.
Okay.
Which is around kind of an average for a lot of cross-country courses, but it's very deceiving on ours. If you get down the back side of the course on the 3K loop, there's a point where you drop to a low point, and the rise up is almost 400 meters of constant uphill running.
Yeah. And
that's something you really don't find on very, very few cross-country courses at all. It's usually steep uphill, flat downhill, uphill downhill, and a lot of flat running. Having this is very challenging. You really saw that take its toll on a lot of athletes in the first run, but we were really pleased with the times that came in. They were definitely faster than the Jeff City course, where the state championship had been the past 43 years, which was a big goal of ours, but it wasn't something where they were just blowing away records or anything. It was right in that healthy middle of good times and just great competition.
And what did you said last weekend when the Gans Creek Classic opened was your 7-year anniversary since you moved to Columbia to work for the Columbia Parks and Recs. Just thoughts, and tell me what it was like last weekend to see the dedication and the ceremony and the college meet, and then Saturday the high school meet.
I mean, one of the great things about working with the Parks and Rec department is that you get to see your projects have such an immediate impact. And the way we work here of starting a project and just within 2 years being able to go from concept to construction to an event so quickly with just great crews that, you know, they get it, they understand what they've got to do, but they enjoyed it as well because they've never done something like this as well. And so having that opportunity is just a great opportunity to do that.
What was one or two of the most just impressive things that the team was able to put together? Was it getting power out here and conduit and power and fiber cable out here? Was it just in the last weeks the overhead structures at the cave markers? Was it the timing tower?
I think
the irrigation?
Probably the most impressive feat that we got away with was the timing, getting the timing tower. I mean, it was less than a month and a half build from setting the footings and building the structure and getting it operational. Construction supervisor Zach Whitekemper did a great job getting that put together and working those details out and getting that. And you can't say enough about the turf crew, about, you know, being able to get to lay like 7 miles of irrigation in a few months. We had a terrible winter, very wet spring, so getting those things installed was just key to being able to get the grass growing when we did.
And then as things played out and you got to see, I don't know how many cross-country meets you've gone to. You said you played baseball at Strafford High, but what have you become a cross-country fan now after watching all the hot and heavy action on Friday and Saturday?
Well, I was driving the lead cart, so I had to watch from ahead of all the runners, so that was interesting. I hope to get out and see some of the more of the meets and see that competition. But I had a great perspective to see how the spectators were enjoying the course and see how they were, you know, using everything we designed into it, from the controlled access to the controlled crossings, but enjoying those views. You know, seeing 4,000 people up on the spectator berm and just enjoying that and cheering everybody on was a great feeling.
Well, lastly, anything else I should have asked you about, or any stories that come to mind when this process is gone that are memorable or just worth sharing, or anything that really sticks in your mind that you won't forget over this long 2-year process?
I think there's a lot of great events still to come and great memories to be had at this course. We're hoping for, we know we have the SEC championship coming up, state championships, of course, in a couple weeks, but we're hoping to draw the interest from the NCAA championships and try to be just that quality course to get those national championships on a yearly basis.
Well, I just can't wait to see what the future holds, and you guys did a marvelous job, and from me and the rest of the Missouri and Midwest running communities, we sure appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt.